Hello and welcome, heroes, to the Academy. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your host, Brandon.
I'm your co-host, Dan.
This podcast was created to provide you, our heroes, with new and reusable material for both players and DMs.
We hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure.
Our show may not be suitable for young children.
So I'm really excited to discuss this product. It came out a little over a month or so ago. The Greasemonkey's Handbook, Rules for Piloting Magitech, Steampunk, and Sci-Fi Mechs in D&D 5th edition. Now, I'm going to get this right out there. This isn't for everybody.
Nope.
This is definitely something that you want to experiment with. Could be cool, but you have to be ready to allow a lot of different things in your game outside of the core rulebook. I would like to point out that this book is like 120 pages, which is a lot for like a DM's Guild product.
Oh, yeah.
So
Jeez.
there is a link to this product in our show notes. I definitely recommend checking it out. We all know that Dungeons & Dragons is filled with, fantastical machines, magical constructs, and everything in between. But what if you yourself as a player had the power and capability of creating one of these things? Because that's something that happens all the time. Constructs are created by people in the D&D universe, right?
Yep.
There's magic behind it. There's ingenuity behind it. The technology exists. We just perceive it in a different way, right? Like golems, for instance, right? They're made of stone. They're made of wood. They're made of these different things. But magic pretty much runs these gears and cogs and stuff instead of an electrical battery.
You can make golems out of anything.
Flesh too, even actually.
Yep.
That's a thing.
You know what they say, when life give you crap, make crap golems.
Oh shit, it's a shit demon.
The shit demon. Did you? Were you able to open the PDF on your thing there?
I can, but I can't have the show notes and the PDF open at the same time.
You can if you open up in Google Drives.
Well, I was gonna say he can look over here for a moment too.
That works,
So if this stuff sounds interesting to you, then this Greasemonkey's Handbook is for you. It has been designed from the ground up to be just that, an instructional guide for not only developing these constructs, but the rules involved in operating them. And it is very well thought out, very in-depth. We are not going to get to the nitty-gritty. We're going to go over some of the main things that they talk about and why we think they're interesting. But, I mean, like I said, you got rules for building, maintaining, outfitting, and fighting right alongside your very own all-terrain utility machine, or an ATOM for short. I'm not sure if it's ATOM or ATOM, but ATOM sounds way cooler, so we're going to go with that.
I read it as a tomb, but whatever.
Well, I'm going with ATOM. You can call it whatever you want, because I don't think it really matters. So,
Your mother.
So, the very first thing that I noticed about this book, and this was created by Val Cyrene. What is that, Cyrene?
Never seen that one before, so I don't know.
By Val Cyrene and Mogman Doubloon. That's got to be like a sign name or whatever. And Mogman Doubloon. So there's a lot of content in this. In the very first chapter, it brings you into a nice introduction to what an ATOM system is. And the very first thing that really jumps out at me is they talk about pilots. These are operators of these machines. Now, we mentioned mechs and stuff, and it gives you the idea of somebody inside this giant, Gundam-style suit. But not all of them are like that, right? And we'll get more into that. But they give you these little brief descriptions of the different types of pilots that exist. You've got the Nomad, which kind of is a... Actually, they give you the description, the junker, which sees the world as it's open oyster and always filled with these, financial opportunities, right? Generally, these characters are out scavenging all the time, looking for components, and this gives you a nice little backstory or a little addition onto your character.
Yep.
That you can make them and separate each pilot from another. You also get the Nomad, which is often inwardly focused and driven, intelligent, and uncompromising. These pilots make it their life's work to push the boundaries of exploration and understanding and the development of these sort of technologies, which I think is pretty cool. And there's several, actually, and then the last one they kind of give you is the Gray Wolf, which is born from a life of necessity and one of violence and vengeance. And this kind of reminds me like the typical like mercenary style kind of pilot, out for money and for themselves in battle, improving themselves.
Great. I really want to play a BattleTech on the PC.
So, first of all, just jumping right in this, what do you guys think about the fact that they give you these different little pilot options to kind of add to your backstory?
I think it's a good start, especially since we didn't really have Mechs in the first place by Raw, obviously.
Right,
so.
right.
So, will these be seen as like mech backgrounds, pilot backgrounds?
Well, I think they go in addition to whatever background you want. Another way to kind of describe the character or the NPC that is the person behind the different personalities of the types of people that would be involved in this.
Although I do want to, I do realize we're skipping ahead when I say this, but they do offer the pilot as a archetype later on as a prestige class.
Yep.
Of 5 levels, and they do give basically all 3 of the dimensions give different benefits depending on which one you choose when you pick the class.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, prestige thing isn't a thing in 50, right?
Not really.
As of right now.
But they did basically more or less say treat it as multi-classing.
Right.
Which it is.
Right. So you're giving up a level progression and something else to get this then, right?
And I think the biggest thing with prestige classes too is it's just not regular multi-classing in the sense of you have a lot more prereqs before you can actually go into that, as opposed to regular multi-classing.
Right, right.
Not that those have prereqs too, mind you, but
if you want, you can just end up looking over my shoulder here too, Brandon. I don't know if you can see that, but so just like the pilots, the atoms have different types as well, and they classify them from civilian, industrial to military, and they are pretty much just what you would think. The civilians are anything from simple or traditional wheeled, passenger vehicles. I think automobile when I think civilian class,
which is reasonable.
I was thinking.
What's that? Tools of burden, right? Something that's used to get from point A to point B, and that's pretty much what they do. Whether that's the style of a motorcycle or a car or a truck, something along those lines.
Or an exoskeleton.
So you got
or an exoskeleton. Yeah, that's a good one. One for like lifting and stuff.
A Honda, a black cat, and a tank.
That's a really good one, because the next one, the industrial class is mostly bipedal constructions that are
they're slow, but they're durable.
Right, but I'm looking for like a good... These are the types of things you find in like construction zones, right? Like the equivalent of like a bulldozer or a crane or something along those lines, whether it's bipedal or on wheels, to help you build castles, to build other types of structures and fortifications and ramparts, those sorts of things.
It does make a mention that's not uncommon for it to be used by civilian security, too.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I see. I would expect that more to be under the military class.
But that's military.
Right, right. And then, of course, the military classes, these are heavily armored. These things are designed for war. They come with giant chainsaws and giant, machine gun type, mechanisms and even swords in some cases. These things are designed for war. These are the ones that you see battling and duking it out, which I think is pretty dope.
But they are also a lot more expensive, but they're also a lot more durable and faster, too.
Yes. Definitely stronger, and they have so we haven't got to it yet, but they talk about like different types of hard points that can go on different things, which basically gives you some options of which each vehicle can kind of touch on. By the way, can I just say there's an art piece in here that damn near looks like a Gundam. You see this? What is that? That's a fantasy Gundam right there. That is dope as hell, isn't it? You see the little person in there?
There's a pilot in the middle.
There is, yeah, right in the belly area, just above the groin. Dope as shit art, by the way.
That looks like a cockpit.
Yeah, it did look very much like it was a very nice cockpit. So
and then there's all the enders.
Earth movers.
Earth movers. That's pretty dope. So that's a lot of what the first chapter is about. Brandon, what is chapter 2 about?
Chapter 2, I need the...
I've got it popped up. All you got to do is glance over.
Chapter 2 is about combat.
Mecha combat.
The atom combat. And how it works.
Yeah,
It looks like it teaches you about piloting. The different kinds of crews, proficiencies, creature size. Everything you need to know about combat.
Yeah, and even has special rules for the atom machines, and how to apply them and what modifiers go to the different features and all that stuff, and how they all fit together in the traditional combat sense of D&D.
And it's worth mentioning too that not only are there 3 different classes, if you will, civilian, industrial, military, there's also 3 different sizes: small, medium, large, and each one can have different amounts of people like manning them. Like small was like just one person because it's small, whereas like the medium and large can have whole crews.
Right, and that really fits in with like the big like tanks or the big just vehicles like trucks and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's really interesting is they do go out of their way that even though they're inanimate constructs, they can be affected by things like paralysis, and they give you some examples of how that would happen. Like it could be an electrical overcharge or gears locking up. So there is flavor there to explain why certain failures happen under the effects of normal like magic and stuff that's in the world of D&D, right? And there's paragraphs on this stuff. This is very thoroughly written. It also does give you like specific rules on like casting and stuff while you're piloting an atom, which I think is pretty dope. And you know, the targeting of them and all that sort of details. But beyond that, I mentioned earlier the hard points. These are essentially like the mechanical, I would say like the arm locations or places you mount special equipment.
It's a fancy way of saying gear you install in your mech.
Yes, basically. Well, I think, and I know in a lot of like the ship games I play, like Star Citizen, and you know, hard points are where you mount your like gun barrels and shit like that as well, or extra storage and all that stuff. And they come into some pretty detailed. They give you some pretty good details on the different chassis categories. What types of categories come with those hard points there, Brandon?
It looks like you got melee hard points, arm hard points, ballistics, energy, tools.
Now that one's interesting. Energy weapons, to me, I instantly think like magic. Like maybe it's just a harnessed form of magic.
Not necessarily.
Well, I know, but that's what I think of in this
Right.
in this particular setting of D&D. But the different hard points give you different functionalities. So each chassis has so many access to not only so many hard points, but to certain types and classifications. Now there are mods and stuff that you can put that consume like I don't know if they consume slots essentially that limit how many things you can do. So if this one needs a modulator to attach a special hard point, it's going to actually make your atom a little less, few less options at the cost of adding something it probably wouldn't normally be able to have.
And that's also worth mentioning, the bigger the mech, the atom, the more slots you have to install hard points.
Right. And these hard points can be anything from a sword, a gun, maybe like an impact tool to chisel out stone and rock and bore into like a mountain, which I think is pretty cool. And actually in the next section, it does go into module slots and upgrading those different features. Once again, you got pages of these details of upgrade modules. I am so impressed by the detail that comes comes to these. Now, the modules themselves come in a couple different categories, passive and active, things that you have to trigger and use an action to activate, probably pressing a button, throwing a switch, turning a knob, something along those lines. And then passive are just like basically like boons that just, they are until something goes wrong and they don't work. So I think that's pretty dope. Some of they got like even a fault table where you get like a mechanical, it seems like a mechanical failure, I guess, when you're making an attack roll or ability check. Similar things like misfire or something jamming up or running out of emergency shutdown, shit like that. There's even one that just says boom. So I'll leave that to your imagination. Man, the art in here is really nice. Look at like the flying shuttles
God.
and the mech assault type shit. That's dope.
You read the thing for boom?
No, I didn't read it.
Something inside the module explodes. Your atom takes 3d10 thunder damage.
Kaboom, bitch. Ian, can you tell us a little bit about what Chapter 3 contains?
Well, the chapter itself is titled Maintenance. And basically it goes into detail about like the armor plating that you have to do maintenance on. Mm-hmm. As well as damage thresholds, because there's plating which can essentially act as more or less, would you say that it kind of acts as additional HP or damage reduction?
Yeah, I would say that. I would say similar to like maybe temporary HP or something that is beyond what it normally has.
That keeps damage from the main body, which means less maintenance work. It definitely gives the cost of it.
Yes, which I think is interesting, because not everything has the same cost, right?
And the time involved, not to mention the tier of workshops that can do different things, and even specialists. And it even like goes into the details about opening your own workshop and the cost for rent and parts and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
For upkeep.
Which is fantastic, because not only running your own shop, but finding a workshop. These things, you could make these things as common or as rare as you want. Maybe only places like Neverwinter and Waterdeep would have them, right? Or if you're running a home game, only major cities. Or you can make them where every city, every little village has a small junker that can do little tiny maintenance things, but maybe not every single service.
It also goes into details with the workshops about how the various size ones can service different types of mechs and different size mechs too.
Yes.
Adams, so.
I just read through damage threshold.
Uh-huh.
It makes me think of Trample from Magic the Gathering.
Oh, yeah, where it goes beyond whatever armor piercing that they have.
Yeah, like if you get hit for 7, but it only defends 5, the other 2 still go through.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's a pretty neat concept. I like that.
Yeah, I agree. And it gives you full details on building custom workshops and stuff like that. We're not going to get too much into it, but I have to say it's at least a full page, several paragraphs worth of detail on building your own and fleshing out your own personal workshops. Which once again that comes into
about 3 pages actually.
It's 3 pages of this process, which I think is cool because, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing really currently that gives you full instructions on how to like operate and maintain your own inn and your own blacksmithing and all that stuff. I think in general it leaves it to like downtime.
Yeah.
This gives it a nice fleshed out detail. So I can easily see using something like using this as a template if you wanted to add that sort of idea to your game where your players decide they want to run a business. You could use this as kind of a model for that.
I kind of chuckled where they even have rules in there for if your mech's big enough, you can actually install a workshop inside it.
Yeah, that's so dope. You need a big mech.
Yeah.
And once again, they even give details down to like construction time and cost involved in something like that. Like this one, a category 3, which is like the largest one you can make, is 50,000 gold pieces, takes 400 days. So obviously this is something that's meant for a big, long time campaign, not just like a 1 or 2, 3 shot adventure.
They even have rules in here for not paying rent on time.
Oh, you guys show up after your adventure, and there's a padlock on your workshop. What the hell is this shit? There's an eviction notice posted on the door.
There actually is a rule for that too.
So these guys really do just a phenomenal job on this. Brandon, so after we get through the building or picking out our Mac or picking out our Atom and building a workshop or finding a place to get everything fixed, how do we get the materials and stuff necessary for that stuff?
Well, in this chapter it talks about how you can do salvaging, where you can salvage destroyed items or other vehicles.
Chapter 4, right?
Yep.
Yes. And there's even a table that was a salvage timetable, where depending on what size the salvage is, it can determine how long it's going to take to salvage certain stuff from it.
And it's pretty cool here because they do actually have a critical success and a critical fail table. But this is like a very refined gathering tool. Once again, this is specifically for salvaging in this, but these numbers have been worked out that you probably can use the same template if you want to do mining or herbalism or any of those sorts of things too.
Sure.
Which I think is pretty cool. Obviously, this is designed specifically for gathering atom components, but I think it could be fleshed out, reskinned, or used for other skills in gathering professions, I guess.
That's like too about how it talks about the possible module quality they and the rules for this condition too.
Yeah, honestly, the more I read through this, the more I want to do this.
Right?
I think it would be really cool to run a game or even stream and do an actual play set in a world where you guys are like Atom pilots.
A one shot at the very least.
No, at the very least a one shot. But this would be a really cool like adventure setting. I think. Can you imagine fighting a dragon and you've got a big mech suit thing with like lasers and shit coming out of it, and the dragon's ripping your fucking armor off and shit, ripping your arm off, and no longer can it just gets me all excited. And I was a big like Gundam person, and I loved Armored Core. This is like a tabletop version of Armored Core.
Side note, my favorite Gundam series is still 8th MS Team.
I haven't seen that.
Okay.
Here we go.
Wing.
Okay, the reason why I like 8th MS Team is, you know, like the tropes for most mecha series. Yep, that's right, I'm a young kid who's kind of whiny, but I'm a natural at piloting mechs. You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
right?
I got you.
Whereas with 8th MS Team, it was an actual military unit, so it actually felt like a military show at the same time, too.
Instead of just the guy that can get in and is automatically awesome.
Right.
Mary Sue, I think is what they call that, right?
Right, and he actually felt like it was actually in the trenches, too, so...
Yeah. So, is there anything else on salvaging we wanted to touch on that's in this book?
Yes, you can salvage modules. And you actually got a table here that says determines the quality of the module you can be salvaging by rolling 2d8. And of course, there's also like 2, 3 to 6, 7 to 11, 12 to 15, and 16. And the qualities are broken, poor, used, new, and masterwork.
So when you're salvaging, there's a chance that even if you're a low level or something like that, you could stumble across a very valuable piece of equipment. And then you have to decide, well, I don't know if my mech can fix this. Can I sell it? Can I break it apart? What can I do for this? And I think that that's a really nice touch.
That'd be great. You're just looking through this broken, busted down atom. You're like, oh man, okay, so this hard point, that's just destroyed. This is low quality, and you just so happens there's a pristine railgun attached to his back. You're like, oh hey, look at that.
Side note, it's worth mentioning that even just plain old scrap is worth something.
Yes, and
because you can at least melt it down.
Right. What's really cool is the modules have a function, right? So, like, if you get a poor quality one, it's a -1 to all ability checks and saving throws and attack rolls when made using the module. But if you then go and get a masterwork one, it gives you a +2. So it's actively altering your stats depending on what you find, which I think is pretty cool. And once again, it's just... it's a bit of luck involved, which I think is really cool, but adds value and makes you want to go out and spend your valuable time looking and scavenging. Anybody else kind of reminded of Rey from Star Wars at the moment? Like, she's like a junker pilot of like these little things she flies around now, which I think is pretty cool. It does give you instructions. I think you mentioned this already on salvaging the module.
Yeah.
Patching them up and. What are the costs involved if they're damaged enough in replacing them and getting them repaired or substituting with something else. And they give you timelines for all this stuff, once again, which is just showing how thorough they did of a job of designing it. By the way, this is I want to make sure I get this right because it changes every day. Hang on. Open.
Sesame.
This is currently this book is currently a platinum bestseller on the DM's Guild. That's only 2 from the highest level on a scale of 8. That is an amazing product. To give you an idea, they're only 0.59% of the DM's Guild content is at a platinum level. That's amazing.
Huh.
And it looks like most packs don't even get any kind of bestseller, not even Copper.
Yeah, you need at least, I think Copper's around 50, 60 sales.
Okay.
And then, I don't know what it is beyond there, but just because you're on the DM's Guild doesn't mean you get a bestseller tag. We're close, though.
Yay.
All right.
Give us money.
It does go into details on the selling of the scrap, the components and stuff, and the weight of all the components. So you gotta, this is a moment where I think encumbrance would really be a big deal.
Yep.
Because just because you go into a junkyard for all this equipment doesn't mean you're going to be able to walk away with it, And I think that's fantastic. Unless you got an Atom that can carry shit, right? I mean...
Great, nothing about Megas XLR.
God, I love that show.
I still find it hilarious when the main character is picking through a scrap pile in a junkyard. Dude, how much does this cost? Dude, that's $2. Everything in that pile is worth $2. I only think that whole pile's worth $2. I accidentally pulled a piece of scrap which knocked everything over into the mech inside. $2, huh?
I'll take it.
Tate says, I did and do, and look what it gets me.
I don't know what he's referencing.
I have no idea what you're referencing either.
Well, then you should ask him that before you...
Yeah, well, that's a pretty much a question in question by saying that. See what you'll answer.
Okay. So, now moving on to Chapter 5. This is where it gets interesting. Constructing your own atom.
Oh, money.
I wish I had some of that. It's like no matter how much we get coming in, I always find a way to waste it. I mean, spend it or use it, utilize it. I don't know. Like I just paid for some art and stuff. How's that art coming, by the way?
Not good.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna do it last night, but my phone kept dropping out. It wasn't worth doing.
Yeah, all right. My art's not worth doing. You heard it. You heard it here.
That wasn't worth doing. But that's what I'm hoping for this next Sunday.
Okay. So in chapter 5, you talk about constructing your own atom. The details in this are amazing. First, you have to. It starts off by picking your chassis in the mobility type, right? The chassis come in like three settings. Light, which is large, medium, which is huge, and heavy, which is gargantuan. And it gives you all the stat modifiers and everything for it. You know, they all have their own strength and their own constitution scores, but use the pilot's dexterity ability score. I assume that has to do with like their ability to rotate and click the buttons quickly and react to the enemy that they're engaged with, which I think is pretty cool. Oh yeah, it uses their dex score, the pilot and the crew's saving throws. So your stats as a pilot affect the atom as well, which I think is pretty cool. So then once you've picked your once they've picked the chassis type, Brandon, what is the next step in the custom building of your own atom?
The mobility type.
And what does that entail?
It determines what kind of ability your mech's going to have. Mech. Atom. It determines what kind of mobility your atom's going to have, whether it be wheeled or bipedal or quadrupedal or tracked, kind of like a tank.
Oh, that's pretty cool. It looks like each one gets its own little special features. Like a wheeled one can't be knocked prone. They're immune to prone. While a
it's also worth noting that wheel's the fastest.
Oh yeah, they got different rates of speed. And it looks like they all cost the same amount though, so I guess that doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, but there's different benefits, and each one can only use for different size categories too.
Right.
Like wheel can only be used for the light ones.
I like the little picture that kind of shows the different kinds you got, which is pretty dope. The different sizes to give you an idea. So now that you've picked your chassis and your mobility type, it's time to move on to picking the engine and the fuel types. Once again, you're getting to really detail. It's not just here's something in its stats. Here's the different components you can piece together to get a unique atom, which I think is just fantastic.
It's like if you're traveling across the desert, or you actually have an atom that's waterproof and you're under the water and you run out of gas.
You run out of juice.
You're like, oh shit! I can't even see the light of day. I don't know how low we are.
Actually, there are some cores you can get in the DM section that basically means perpetual fuel, because magic.
So the size of the fuel tank and the engine basically determine how long this thing is going to run for, and they give you a very detailed description on using the fuel, which is pretty cool. Once again, very much specifics. This almost feels like that these people have played a lot of like 3.5 or Pathfinder or Starfinder
Or Mech Warrior.
or Mech Warrior, where they've got all these very detailed little things,
Battletech.
which I think in kind of in nothing against this, kind of pulls away from the streamline that 5e is going for. Not that that's a bad thing at all. But there is a lot of detail, and I know a lot of people like that. It's already making me really excited.
I think it's hilarious that the artwork that comes with this page are literal cars.
Well, not all of them. I mean, this one with this page, yeah, you're right.
Page,
That page, it's just cars.
This lady with a sword riding atop the hood of a muscle car.
Whereas in the background, you see a pickup truck with a main gun on top.
Kind of looks like the War Dog.
Go ahead, call the medic.
You mean the Puma?
He can't you.
What? And Sam Hale is a Puma?
It's like a giant cat. You're making that up.
Look at these toe hooks right here, right? What do these look like?
Tusks.
And what kind of animal has tusks?
A walrus.
I told you to stop making up animals. If you haven't seen Red vs. Blue, shit's amazing.
It's old, but it's great.
All right, so
put spinners on this thing. Get us some LAID. That spells laid. Yeah, we know. We just think that was fucking weak.
I forgot about that. All right, so now that you've picked these big components, your movement, your chassis, your fuel and engine, now it's time to pick the class and the module adapters, right? Each atom's got its own class, which determines what types of features and modules and stuff it can have. We talked about them briefly: the civilian, the industrial, and the military, right?
Yep.
And each one comes with its own cost, and also what has conversion costs, which means you can upgrade them or change them to other ones later. So you might start off with a cheaper civilian model, and then later you can choose to upgrade it with the appropriate model to say military or industrial, which I think is pretty dope.
And once again, each class does have its advantage and disadvantage, even civilian.
Right. The civilian is actually the cheapest one, right?
But it's also the fastest.
Well, yeah, I mean, its base movement speed, you're right, is a little faster than the other two. The industrial's the slowest.
And their modules cost way cheaper.
Yeah, they do. 50% less, actually. So now that you've got your mech now, you know what it's designed, what it's going to look like. You have to decide what is it going to do, right? This is where you get to choose your loadout. Now, to me, this is the equivalent of equipping your character with like swords and armor and all that jazz, right? All the little the really really cool little toys, right? Each now, if I'm not mistaken, Brandon, there's a limit on module slots and hard points depending on the class, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Thanks, Brandon.
You're welcome.
I was trying to draw him into the conversation.
I don't see where it says it, but I'm sure it would. So I'm pretty sure.
All you had to do is say yes.
Yeah.
I didn't scroll down yet. That's my bad.
Right. Great. Now I'm thinking about the anime Knights and Magic, which actually is a fantasy mech series.
Oh yeah? What's that called?
Knights and Magic.
Knights and Magic.
And now I'm thinking about Escaflowne.
That was a weird one. I don't know that I like that one.
I do.
I haven't seen it years, but I don't think I remember liking it very much.
I like Magic Knight Ray Earth.
Never saw that
Was
one.
there mechs in that?
Yes.
Oh, I just thought it was like 3 girls, red, blue, and green, right? And then kick butt.
Yeah, they get their own mix.
No, I didn't know that. Guess I never made it past like the second episode or the first episode.
Yeah, that's what they're looking for. So they're guardians or whatever, and they think they're the gods, and that turns out they're just giant mechs.
All right, so when you're picking out your hard points, they come with different ratings, right? Different classes, I guess, like our armor, light, medium, and heavy. And what are some of the examples there of the light hard points to kind of give our listener Crit Nation kind of an idea?
Wait.
Oh well, the names here like
Yeah.
You got a 25mm flak battery, 30mm tank cannon, a battering ram, civilian manipulator.
Civilian manipulator, it's an arm.
It's an arm. Get out of my way.
Is this Adam gonna have to choke a bitch?
Heat ray, plasma gun, plasma torch.
So it almost sounds like a sidearm or a utility, right?
Yeah.
Piece of equipment. And they come in different settings, right? Like the battering ram is a tool, and the 30mm tank cannon is ballistics, the heat ray is energy, and they give the stats and ranges of all these and additional properties, as well as like cost.
A lot of properties.
Which classes can use them. This is a pretty big table.
That's a big table.
for just the light. And then moving into the medium, you start to get some of the more powerful and very costly features, like the beanbag toaster. What the hell is that?
Well, actually,
It says experimental.
It's very costly at 5,000 gold pieces.
I actually read the special properties for it.
Oh, did you?
No, how it actually says properties, and essentially it came across me like a claymore mine that's built on your mech.
A claymore mine built in your mech. So
Like
let's say if someone gets in your face, you can be like, nope, click, and
It
just
shoots out a big bar that looks like a piece of toast. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I'm envisioning. Oh, this is pretty cool. You get an energy blade. Now
I knew you were going to spot that. The second I saw it, I was like, oh, Justin's going to be like, oh, I'm all
when
on
I
that
played
shit.
Armored Core, my favorite offhand was I would love to build laser blade like things because it's so hard to win when all you got is a sword and everyone else has got laser cannons and missiles and shit.
Oh, that was the point of one of his characters on Armored Core. It was the one thing that I could not beat. I've at least beat his mechs once. But he had one I could never touch, and that's because he made the lightest mech. He was able to fly everywhere. He was super fast, and the only weapon he had was the energy blade, so he had no extra weight on him.
The problem is if he got hit, he almost felt like 2 hits would kill my little tiny mech. But you can never hit me.
But I could never hit him.
I just know when I actually built stuff in the Armored Core, I always went with energy weapons because there's no ammo cost after missions.
Yeah, you're very much right. Once you got the character, I am derailing. I love Armored Core. I went to tournaments for that shit. I love it so much.
Until the first version for the 360 came out, like it just kind of like fell apart. Yeah. I didn't like that one.
Yeah, I heard the other two. It just wasn't as good.
So anyway, some of the other kind of hard points. You get a massive laser cannon. Those do and once again, they give you additional details, and just like some of the items and shit in 5e, some of them have special properties.
I think it's even a mining drill.
This one's got a missile launcher. That's pretty dope.
You know, I gotta point out too, these are still just medium.
Yeah, we haven't got to the heavy shit yet. Man, I'm really wanting to play Armored Core now.
Yeah, Titan flail.
Titan cleaver.
Oh man, dude, we totally could use this to run an Armored Core themed adventure. Oh my god, dude, my genitals are shaking right now.
I know.
The Tesla arc rifle. That's pretty cool. I imagine you shooting some hard object and then lightning tracing to it. Oh, that's so cool. Titan cleaver. That's just a big giant 15-foot sword. What are some of the heavy things we got here?
A big fusion gun.
Gauss cannon.
The Gauss cannon. So now, once again, the nerdy Armored Core person again is, I'm just imagining putting one on my shoulder, and you got to have the little sidearm that just pops up like Iron Man's little tank killing missile.
An ion cannon.
Oh man, that's experimental too.
Oh my god,
it does radiant damage.
The Doomsday missile.
Particle accelerator.
Oh my god, these lists are so huge. So there's so much customization for these bad boys. Man. All right, so we could be talking about the weapons all day, but man, and what's cool is they give you a name and you can just use your mind to envision what that shit would look like. I could totally imagine the Doomsday missile launcher, this big giant thing pop out of your shoulder, doing a transformer thing, and then just shooting a little side pea-sized missile at them, and then you just walk away.
And for some strange reason, there's a cowboy sitting on it.
There's a cowboy sitting on it.
The X-42 Final Word Assault Battery.
What is that? I get the final word, bitch.
This is experimental, and the range is 1 mile.
Manipulator
1 mile?
weapons.
Jesus! There's a couple of them. The missiles seem to have up to 1 mile. A couple of them. Anyways, so after you've picked your weapon, you have manipulator weapons, right? These are...
That means when your mech has hands.
Yeah, so when your mech has got these manipulator arms, and not joking a bitch, you can pick up a shield, an energy sword, flamethrower, kite shield. So this sounds more traditional, like the traditional Gundam type stuff, right?
Yes, these are the actual weapons that they would hold within their hands.
A Titan scimitar, war axe. So this is like a fighter version of your Atom, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of what I'm getting. I mean, you got laser rifles in there too. I assume they're handed, and you can probably drop them as well, which is probably pretty useful.
Looks like
I
an
imagine.
unstable lightsaber.
It does look like you can't say lightsaber. Looks like a laser sword. All right. Anyways. And so as if you didn't have enough customization options, you now have upgrade modules. Marvin the Martian weapons. That's hilarious. Dude, I would totally name my pilot Marvin. And then call my mech the Manhunter. Ooh. All right, so you get upgrade modules. Now these are the kind of the passive and active features we talked about briefly earlier. Like active countermeasures. As a bonus action, you can scramble the targeting system of enemy sensors. Until the end of your next turn, you cannot be the target. You cannot be target locked. I imagine that specifically affects certain features that require that thing, like missiles.
Targeting modules, built-in workshops, oxygen supplies, energy fields, trailers.
Docking clamps, what the hell? An atom can be carried by an aircraft or a ship locked to the hull. So these are some very utility that give you that thing that you don't probably use quite as often, but when you have it, you're glad you have it.
Rotation device, fuel storage.
Extra fuel storage, that's nice. And hull reinforcement, increase your hit die, +2 hit die. That's pretty dope.
There's options.
There's a lot. Mobility boost. Man, I miss those boosters. That was the other thing. I had those shoulders boosters on my Armored Core unit. You would shoot a laser at me and I was dodged to the side.
Ooh, nitro.
Oh man, so you have an entire page of options here.
Pages.
So hang on a second. So now that we've really got through the what it is to build and construct an atom, there's a plethora of other content that they add as well, including additional adventuring equipment from a compact pistol to a bolt rifle, a plasma pistol, shotgun,
firearms. Got lots of firearms.
Yeah, and firearms, laser weapons, all those sorts of things.
And they got stuff from like a steampunk style to modern to sci-fi.
Right. And you really can flavor this however you want, or pick and choose, right? If you don't want it to be overwhelmingly something that's available, you can pick and choose as you introduce it into your campaign if you don't start off with it. The hell's a power gauntlet? Just says you get powerful blow. Oh, that's probably a special feature.
It is.
They go into deeper detail on firearms and ammunition and the cost and how they function, which is pretty cool.
For power gauntlet, think Doomfist's arm in Overwatch.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they actually have some pictures of some of this shit, and it looks pretty cool, I have to be honest. So they get a lot of detail into that stuff. We're not going to go through every single one because there's pages and pages of this stuff. So now that you've got the firearms, you actually have a whole entire page of firearm modifications.
I'm pretty sure it's more than one page, too.
Is it?
Jeez.
Nope, just one.
Nope, just the one. But
still pretty.
But includes
big
like
table.
reflex sights, night vision scopes, bayonets on them,
Barrels.
suppressors. I mean, there's
barrels,
just
magazines.
you can customize your equipment going even more detail. You know what? That's something that's not in 5e's like weapons.
Nope.
I bet I can make something for that. Like enhancements to your like sword and anyway, I'm getting
I'm gonna put a reflex scope on my bow.
Did you see there's a picture going around of a giant flute with a scope on it when the bard means business. Oh my god, shit. It gives details on attacking with or without, manipulators and stuff like that, and all the details if, something breaks or doesn't work and how it impacts your ability to play. They give special rules. There's lots of special rules. There's several pages on it. You have to reference it when you're looking at something on one of the lists.
Ammo boxes, artillery, missiles, demolishers.
Yep. What a charge is, what a chassis resistance does, what experimental means. This is a cool one. So it says, hard points with this rule are dangerous, sporadic, and often unstable. It gives you a chart of shit that happens when you use it. 1 through 4, you roll a d8. 1 through 4, nothing. You are lucky this time. Nothing bad happens. And then 8 is bang. Something explodes. Your atom takes force damage and immediately re-roll, ignoring a result in 8. So not only did you fuck up once, you're going to get the other negative effects.
And some special rules even include like cooldowns after you fire some weapons.
Oh, the beanbag toaster. The beanbag toaster is an experimental hardpoint of gnomish design accidentally created after trying to develop a more efficient toaster delivery system. Oh my god, that's fucking hilarious.
Worked a little bit too well.
Yeah. So whenever you use or activate a module with there's a feature called faulty, you have to roll on this table, and once again you can have misfires, jams, and all that sort of stuff, which is pretty cool. And I mean, there's just so much here for the different types of equipment. You really get a huge amount of content for your money. It goes into details on what Titan shields are and what different bonuses you get for them. And then, as if that wasn't enough, in Chapter 6, they give you a character option for every single class.
Archetypes!
Now, I'm not going to go through all of them, but there's one that really stood out that I thought was unique. And they each tie into the atoms in some way, shape, or form.
It's a bard with a loop where he's all like dressed in metal and he's got skull pauldrons on it. It looks like he's rocking out.
College of Metal.
There's one I wanted to talk about specifically. Oh, here it is. So, for example, the rogue archetype is called Hijacker. And as a hijacker, you excel at commandeering other people's atoms. I mean, you can take over their shit with ease. You get this third level feature called Hijack, And as part of a long rest, you gain the ability to create a special device called a Hijacking Cell. And the Hijacking Cell has an appearance similar to like a high-tech or steampunk or magical microchip that basically you attach to this thing. And when you hit a creature or construct with a weapon attack and you trigger your sneak attack, instead of doing the additional damage, you can choose to hijack the target by attaching the hijacking tool. And you can create and store a number of these equal to your intelligence modifier. And basically, it has a whole chart here of controlling the hijack target and all this shit that you can do. Like, it's hilarious. And in each one of the classes comes with something unique like this that really makes them fit into the world with the atoms. And I think that's amazing.
Like how Circle of Steel for Druid gives you a robot companion.
Does it really?
Yes.
Man, that's what the Druid's been missing for a while.
Right?
So, and
no, we got as a Beastmaster.
The Sorcerer Steelborn, that sounds pretty dope. Your innate magic comes from the raw magical power of an arcane construct. To be able to access such magical automation power at will is a very rare gift. Many with this ability can often trace their lineage back to a particular ancestor who became infused with construct magic after crossing paths with one of the mysterious inevitables. I don't know what that is, but it sounds fucking dope. But anyway, so you get 12 of these.
One for each class.
I mean, this. I want to check something real quick. Make sure I bring it up later.
And they also give you like mech-related feats and spells too.
Right. Now the price of this book is only $9.95. Imagine, can you guys believe how much content you're getting for that price?
And this document altogether is 116 pages PDF.
Yeah, we're at page 56. But I'm gonna skip over the class features. So
yeah. But as I mentioned before, they do include a prestige class for an atom pilot. So
which is pretty cool. Man, look at that. That Warforged is hanging from that flying tree like a fucking boss.
I mean,
there's I don't think there's anything else I really wanted to touch on in this. Because mostly time constraints.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a crap ton of stuff in the DM section.
Yeah,
including NPCs, quests, additional equipment.
Yeah, what kind of monsters can these things go against?
Depends on the chassis and the build and the weapons. But I imagine potentially eventually dragons.
I mean, shoot, even in the NPC section, there are essentially, they cover autonomous atoms that you create by summoning spirits to basically inhabit and pilot them.
Uh-huh.
And a few of them were like, why would you build something like this?
Straight from Witchblade.
There's
especially the demon one, which is like kill everything on sight.
So after the chapter 6 of the character options, you have chapter 7, the Dungeon Master toolbox. The Dungeon Master's Toolbox. This includes, NPC pilots, bounties, hunts, magical items, scaling atoms, and hacking variant rules, and even gives instruction on balancing atom encounters for DMs that aren't used to, who would be used to this, right? So it gives you kind of guidance on how to balance encounters around these new creations that you have in your game. And then, of course, Chapter 8 goes on to talk about spellcasting and automation magic, which is a new class of magic. I'm going to actually...
Yeah, there is quite a few decent spells, like... and a lot of them are actually spins on spells that already exist. They just, make it like Steam or Cyberpunk in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's like a resurrection spell, for example, where... Actually, it's close to reincarnate, where somebody dies, you can revive them, but they come back as a Warforged.
Oh, that is dope as hell.
Actually, one of the more higher rank spells, I forget which one it is. I think it's like level 8, level 9. Where you essentially have a Warforged chest ready to go, where if you die, your soul moves into it.
That's so cool. That is awesome.
Well, I'm dead. But judge on you, I come back as a robot.
So that's really cool. Brandon, what do you think about that sort of thing? The special spells and the mechanical flavor? How are you feeling about this right now, going through this?
All I think about was Armored Core.
Me too.
And how much fun we had when it was out.
Thanks for adding to the conversation.
Yeah.
Do you have any other thing you want to point out before we move on?
And I do want to stress that, as we have said before in previous podcasts, obviously this is just a cut a custom set of rules that you can use, and you don't have to use everything in here. In fact, I don't think they intend for you to use everything in here because they're meant for different style settings.
Right.
So it gives like the rules for the DMs or the players. And I think this is a great base to start off with, and I think you don't have to use all the rules.
Right.
Even if it's just for simplicity's sake, because I could see, like, for example, say, like, okay, you have a magical item, which is a set of armor, but you have some bonus enhancements to it.
Right.
If you wanted to simplify it.
Yeah. Yeah,
But this gives you a good baseline to go off of.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it'd be great. It goes off what Ian said, where if your character dies and your soul goes into the atom that you had, and now you control it, just go idly sit in your abandoned camp and just sit there and wait until they stumble upon you. Like, hey guys, I found an atom. Wait for one to jump in, lock the cockpit, go jump in water.
You don't go into the atom. You become a Warforged.
Oh, you become a Warforged.
Oh, that's way less cool.
Uh,
Well, I think that'll do it for our main topic, the Greasemonkey's Handbook. A guide to building and piloting mechanized constructs in the world's greatest role-playing game. Val and Mogman, you guys did phenomenal work on this, and as soon as there is a physical copy of it, I will pick it up. I'm loving it, and I think that I would love to do an actual play
of course he would.
based around this.
I wouldn't.
Maybe we could record it and share it.
I'm going to call my atom Gypsy Danger.
Ugh. Never mind. You're not invited.
Did you just besmirch Pacific Rim?
I did. It was fun for what it was, but it was not good.
I loved the first one, but the second one was just okay. And to be fair, the first one actually has a lot of depth to it if you pay attention. The problem is most people didn't pay attention.
It's hard. All right, so that'll do it.
I just want to say, this is the movie my 5-year-old self always wanted.
Yeah.
And I watched it as an adult.
That's how I felt about Battleship. Like, I didn't plan it. Yeah, I was like, I wanted to see aliens and shit blowing up, and I got it. Anyways, that'll do it for our main topic. Please check this out. There's a link in our show notes, or you can just go to DM's Guild and search it. There'll also be a link on our website when it releases. Check this bad boy out. This is worth every single penny 5 times over again. After this, I actually submitted some questions to Val. Was it Val?
Yeah.
Submitted some questions to Val that I will be releasing as a bonus content to our patrons that he answered. I really enjoyed it. I might put 1 or 2 at the end of this episode, but it really is an amazing product. Definitely check it out. That being said, before we move on to our final segment, we have one more gift to give away, compliments of our sponsor. Brandon, who's our winner today?
Yeah, our winner for our Loresmith prize is Sodar 360. Oh, they're always after the special prizes.
Congratulations, Sodar 360. If you enjoy the adventure, please leave Loresmith a review.
Check it out.
Our final segment, our Unearthed Tips and Tricks. We give you new and creative content for you to bring with you on your next adventure. Brandon, what is in our Unearthed Tips and Tricks?
Character concepts and monster variants and encounter ideas. We give you a magic item and a... did I say monster?
Mm-hmm.
I did say monster. There's the Dungeon Master's tip. There's the player tip.
And that's it.
And just the tip.
Yes, lots of good stuff for you to bring with you and hopefully inspire you. If you haven't already, we've released our Unearthed Tips and Tricks book, which is a compilation of the first 25 episodes in a book. You can head on over to our webpage and click the UTT book there, or type in Unearthed Tips and Tricks in your Google, and it's the first thing that pops up. So
yeah, I mean, why go through the first 25 episodes and continuously clicking through our episode try to find it? You can just buy it, and it's right there.
It's not just that. They're reworded in such a way that they are slightly different than our discussions. Because I gave the writer a little bit of freedom. So
that's even better.
Yeah, definitely, you can help support our show by picking that bad boy up. Brandon, what is our first Unearthed Tips and Trick today?
Our first unearthed.
What?
Our first unearthed tip and trick is the character concept, which is the Warforged Pilot. It is a PC race, Warforged, but is a small mech suit for a crippled halfling on the inside.
I can clearly tell you haven't read this yet because the reaction is genuine.
The halfling spent his life as a soldier, but was critically wounded, forcing him to leave his service to the crown, or whatever military mercenary group you want. After a monster attack on his village, and the sorrow of the losses that were incurred because he was unable to battle was too much for him to take. So instead of killing himself, he set out to find...
No! That's so bad!
He set out to find an artificer to make him some sort of device that would allow him to fight, even though he was a cripple. It started as simple prosthetics, It started as simple prosthetics and bits and pieces of exoskeleton. As time went on, the artificer was able to build a complete exoskeleton battle armor for the cripple, allowing him to engage in combat and never be a victim again.
So I feel like we've talked about this before, but I could not find any evidence that it was actually a character concept.
I think there's quite a few things to leave on the cutting room floor, too.
I agree. What do you guys think about this?
Fun idea. Actually, I think the closest we've seen was when, during our Christmas, the Santa mech that was piloted by a gnome.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever released that to anybody. I think that was just for us. So all this really is your character
creep.
Your character is picking the Warforged race. Though it isn't worth noting that one of the features I think is they don't need to eat or anything. So work with your DM to make sure that doesn't get in the way of your cripple. Maybe he's got like a face mask or something in there, but just feeds himself.
I think it's worth mentioning
protein bars.
I've only watched the first RoboCop movie. He does not arrest a single guy in that one.
Yeah, he's more like a robo bouncer, isn't he? He just beats people up.
Robo bouncer.
I mean, the closest he comes to is he beats up a guy in the liquor store that's trying to rob the place. Or he shoots at one guy in the dick.
What does that say?
She says it kind of reminds me... Savret.
I know that, but the audience doesn't
know. I keep forgetting, yeah. Savret says that it kind of reminds her of the Mechanicus from 40K.
You know,
only less creepy.
It is worth noting that as somebody who is a hardcore nerd, I haven't done much 40K stuff, but I did get a few 40K vibes from some of the entries, especially in the spell section. Mm-hmm. And there was definitely a few announced Transformers as well.
Right. Yes, very cool. I like this concept because it gives a legitimate reason to play a Warforged. Gabe. And I think that it creates a unique flavor. And it really fit the theme of the Greasemonkey book, so I thought it would go great in this episode. I would love to play something like this because it definitely adds a uniqueness that you probably won't see in any other character. So, and as a DM, you don't have to make this available to the players if you want. This could just be like an NPC that they run into, you know. But anyways, any other notes on that?
Nope.
All right, that'll do it for our character concept. The Warforged Pilot. Ian, do you want to take the next one?
I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of sad that I read this. I mean, it's good, but considering all the stuff we pitched.
But we already talked about several of that stuff already.
I know, but
I couldn't regurgitate it into the thing.
Well, I asked, have we done this before? We talked about it all.
I did confirm that it was in one of the things, and
side note,
I had to. It was, and I told you it was good. I was like, oh, that's good, but then I found we already did it, so it's not.
Short version, just to get it off my chest. We did mention reflavoring weird creatures to Transformers.
Yes.
And / having them combine to form one bigger mech.
You totally could do it with a Warforged Druid.
Yes, you could. Anywho, but the actual variant that we have today is the Iron Elephant. Remove its sword and poison breath.
I didn't put the origin monster in there, did I? Sure didn't.
Origin iron.
The origin is the Iron Golem. Basically, you remove its sword and poison breath feature, and its new ability is innate spellcasting. The Iron Elephant's innate spellcasting ability is Charisma. And it has a +7 to hit with spell attacks. And it can innately use the following spells, requiring no material components, including Fireball.
At will.
You're gonna hate me because I'm pretty sure I
Fireball.
messed up the stat for that.
I think a lot of things we messed up for this one.
What? I forgot to change the stat to what is it, -5? I gotta fix that.
I'm totally picturing a flamethrower tank from the description.
Yeah, that's literally what it is.
Yep.
Hang on, but you got to change its charisma to 14, 12, I think. $16. 3 to get a DC of 15. Yes, okay. I apologize. I've totally just overlooked the fact that it had a shitty charisma.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't, because if you saw this giant thing coming at you. So would you mind? I know you just went through all that again. Would you mind regurgitating that? I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, it didn't update on my phone.
Well, this is all I did is you're gonna change it. Just change the charisma here.
Okay. And
Sorry.
And the additional change you make is you make its charisma 16.
Right. There you go, and then I can just plug that in there. Yeah. So first of all, you're basically giving this. You have to do a lot of reflavoring, right? We call it the Iron Elephant. It's basically either a quadruped or a treaded construct that shoots fireball out its trunk, right?
Yep.
And it's spewing, this fireball at will. Now, some people would say fireball at will, that's too strong. If you consider this is a CR16 monster using a 3rd level spell at will, it's not really that powerful compared to doing its normal attacks. I think it gets multi-attack for like 3d10 or some shit like that +7. So it puts it in about the same ballpark, just casting it as a 3rd level spell repeatedly. But I wanted something that really fit kind of the theme of this, and describing this thing, having this basically it's a tank, but they call it an Iron Elephant. Why do they call it an Iron Elephant?
Because it looks like one.
Yeah, it's got a big giant barrel right on the front, right?
Big trunk.
And giving it the fireball spell really made it fit the explosion theme. What do you guys think about this?
Doo-doo.
I think adventurers fighting against a no-shit tank would be something to see.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's fun. I think it fits the Adam and Greasemonkey theme. This is a higher rating than I normally do. I don't usually bother doing high-level monsters for one reason. Very few people fight high-level monsters, and if you do, why would you bother changing it when you've got a bunch of choices in the book?
Because few games make it that far.
Right. It's a very simple variation, but I think it lends itself to a nice little change, and it makes this otherwise spellless creature have some sort of surprise. That'll do it for our monster variant, the Iron Elephant. I'm really going to have to cut that together. Hey, Brandon, would you like to tell... I'm going to take this one. Our encounter of the podcast is called the Iron Elephant. So
what a shocker!
I actually have run this. So I ran an adventure where I decided I wanted to base it off of... what is the anime with the world... The little portal that goes between Japan and... Gate, yeah. I was watching Gate, and
Good series.
Yeah, it is. And in the Gate anime, a portal opens up in the middle of Japan, and these fantasy creatures and people come through and start attacking the civilians. The military goes through with their tanks and shit and just starts mowing down these knights with their swords and shields, with machine guns and tanks and all these things. And it occurred to me that would make for a surprisingly interesting encounter because the players wouldn't know what it is. So if I was in a world where I didn't understand what this. How would I describe it? Well, a tank looks like an elephant. It's got the long snout. It's very massive in size. So in this adventure, your players run into this, whether it's a construct that's been left behind from some forgotten past, or it's something that comes through a gate and they're like, shit, what the hell is this? You know, maybe they approach this town and there's these stories of some sort of rampaging, fire-breathing elephant running around. You know, the stories say that just rams and tramples, any creature or structures in its way, leaving only tracks and burnt debris in its wake. If you just tell your players that, they're not going to really know what the hell is going on, right?
I still think it's hilarious. Like, oh crap, it's a dragon! We get rocket launchers.
That's one of my favorite parts. But anyways, so in this scenario, you leave it kind of mysterious at first, right? As you're introducing it, and then when you whatever you do not call it a tank, right? You do everything to describe all the results of this thing. Like when somebody hits it, it resounds like with a loud ting, as if you're hitting off plate armor or something like that. You know, you got to keep it vague. You got to keep it unique, and leave it to the point where it slowly dawns on your players and they go, are we fighting a fucking tank? And I'm like, yes. And it is the most glorious experience to have that when it just finally dawns on the players of what they're fighting this whole time. So I think it's a lot of fun. I think you can make it something that just a construct that goes haywire and just start steamrolling shit, or maybe you do have a planar gate opens and it comes from another world, you know. In either case, what are your guys' overall thoughts of this sort of encounter? How would you like it as a player?
I think it would be kind of fun to encounter like a modern or future tech, but in the fantasy setting, and you don't know what it freaking is.
Right, and it's something you can introduce. Like maybe it's a once event that happens, and then maybe over time it happens more frequently. Right? What do you think, Brandon?
I think it'd be terrifying. I could see a good hook for it too. Is this rift opens and there's a massive explosion in a town nearby, and you have this tank team, the team within the tank, are being attacked by the village's militia and the villagers because they think they're under attack by this dragon thing and they're defending themselves. And now you got these villagers that come up and they don't know what it is, and they're just like, hell, hey, it's a thing, let's go investigate it. And instead of it being peaceful, the tank attacks them, assuming that they're going to get attacked. So now they got this big old thing going on.
I'm instantly reminded of Avatar when they're all shooting bows and arrows at those flying ships, and they're just like bouncing off of it, you know? Like, I mean, as a player, that would be terrifying. So, that'll do it for our encounter of the podcast, the Iron Elephant. Brandon, would you like to tell us about our magic item today?
The magic item for this week is called the Nipping Purse via the Greasemonkey's Handbook.
Can you be a little more clear? I barely heard you. It does come from that.
Yeah.
It comes from the Greasemonkey's Handbook, and it is a wondrous item. It is uncommon. This magical coin purse is awarded... This magical coin purse is warded against thievery. If a creature other than the wearer attempts to take an item out of this coin purse, they must succeed on a DC 16 dexterity save. It's a sleight of hand check, yes. Or take 1d6 piercing damage as sharp teeth from inside the bag nip at their fingers, and the creature's attempted theft fails.
And I do want to point out, too, that there is a lot of items in this book.
Yeah, there's a lot of magic items. Like, damn. This was one that really jumped out at me, because thieving, I think, is something that doesn't happen enough to the players. But if you gave them...
It's like he made a deal with a freaking mimic. Said, here, if you keep all my belongings in your mouth, I'll make sure you have food every night. Just make sure no one grabs them.
Here's a rat.
Yeah, I really like this because it's a very subtle thing that you could use as a DM to, they got this. It's a magic item that it isn't going to change anything if they get it, but it becomes a hook for you to utilize to introduce them to more of the underground or something like that. I can see like a character who is a rogue or something along the lines, or a criminal background, giving them something like this just so they can protect themselves when they're meeting with the sketchy, shady guy to give them information, or they're going through the slums and something like that, and having this a tool to kind of defend them. I totally need to make that a DM tip. Fucking steal from your players. But anyway, what do you think about this? This is pretty dope.
I think it's a nifty item.
Yeah. Well, it's a pretty simple one. Not a whole lot to say about it. It's very cool though, very subtle. That is our magic item of the podcast, the nipping purse. Our Dungeon Master tip of the podcast is loot crates.
Really? You can't drop loot crates into D&D.
In a world,
oh my god!
In a world full of magic items and artifacts that many can't identify, it's likely that some merchants would. I'm just trying to do that, but I just can't. So in a world full of magical items and artifacts that there's a lot of people out there that just can't identify exactly what they are. It's likely that some merchants would have a hand in dealings with odd and mysterious items regularly. The wealth of characters in 5th edition specifically is something that can sometimes get kind of out of hand and them not have really anything to do with it, right? Like, I got all this money and I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with it. Well, Tim B came up with a solution to this problem. He created a traveling merchant who only sells one thing: special loot crates. The problem is, the items that they contain are unknown to the players. This kind of reminds me of like Storage Wars, right?
Yeah.
Where like you're bidding on this item, but you don't really know what you're gonna get,
Storage Wars.
And so for a solid 500 gold each, he creates four crates and attempts to sell them to the heroes at a blind purchase. And he lets you know, sometimes you can find, mystical artifacts, and sometimes it's a rusted kitchen knife, You never really know, but I try to include, nice items in it. What's really cool about this is Tim the DM actually created little envelopes that he put out on the table for the players and let them pick them, right? To me, this is hilarious because it really is an extra incentive. If I just sat for little tiny envelopes in front of you guys, would you not be more tempted to want to buy the miscellaneous boxes that might have something in them?
Yeah.
What's really cool is you go on to the NPC can go on to explain that they could contain, mundane items, something maybe like a potion of healing, or if they're really lucky, very rare magical items. This is really cool because it's a great way to drive your players to spend the gold, as well as have a chance to introduce random rare items, even stuff that might even be on their wish list, right? Mm-hmm. Something that you can't find an easy way to fit into the story that they might be able to get. And you've got all the tables and the DMG and stuff to kind of help roll with that. But I would do like a percentage die, right? Like 1 through 85 is like mundane items, right? And then 85 through 95 is like, potion or a various level of a potion or something like that. And then you have the last 5% is like a magical item of sorts, Maybe 4% is a rare one and a legendary is 1%, That really would be that loot crate feeling, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. What do you guys think about this?
Well, my first thought was, I didn't read ahead, so I saw loot crates. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? As in, like, the DM makes a little one of those twister spinners, right? And it's got uncommon, common, and rare, mythic rare, all that stuff. And like, there's a very, very, very thin line that says, "Oh, this is like the rarest item you can get." And it's like, if you pay me $3.99 right now, I'll let you spin this shit.
Like the little spinners,
like a real life loot crate. Oh my god,
that would be hilarious. No, I hadn't even considered that. Savret says you end up with lots of cool junk.
Yeah, DMs, don't do that. Follow the player tip. Don't do that. Don't be a dick.
And the salesman's name is Eric Algiers. Think about that for a second.
What?
What is it? Say it again.
Eric Algiers. EA.
EA Sports.
Oh my god!
Oh, that's genius!
Oh my god!
You could just call me EA for short. EA's Crate. EA's Crate.
Oh god! It's EA Sports. It's in the DLC.
Oh my god, dude, that's hilarious.
Holy shit.
That's genius.
Did you see that meme for like games in the 90s and modern games? It means like games in the 90s. Okay, the game. She's like a huge freaking burger. The expansion pack, fries. Another expansion pack, a drink. Modern games. The game! A bun. DLC for all the various toppings and the meat.
That's funny.
Thanks,
and accurate.
Thanks, Tam. I'm going to remember this for a long time.
What does that say?
Leaving work early tonight.
TTFN. What the hell is that?
Tata for now.
Tata for now, really?
Yeah.
Tata for
How
now.
do you even know that?
Internet.
You spend too much time on the internet, bro.
Like you want to talk.
That's true.
I spend every waking hour reading the Urban Dictionary.
All right, well, that'll do it for our Dungeon Master tip, the loot crates.
I may use Urban Dictionary as a reference more than I care to admit.
Yeah. Our player tip of the podcast is...
Don't be a dick. And...
What?
I haven't read it in a while.
Oh, have at it.
Yeah. And today, you can avoid ticket 2 by handling aggressive negotiations. Now, let's face it, there's always that one player that wants to engage in combat when everybody's trying to talk. But, once initiative is rolled, there's an opportunity to stop them, be it hit the idiot with a sleep spell, paralyze them, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Looks like I stopped writing halfway in through that
You did.
sentence.
And this prevents that one idiot in the group from ruining negotiations.
Yep. So this actually happened to me yesterday.
I know what happened.
Were you watching?
No. Why you didn't continue spelling? Because you were sitting there and it's like, the single character from ruining a negotiation. Honey, you want your dick sucked? I'm coming! Just go on.
Well, I will be.
Okay.
No, yeah, you're actually spot on. So I mentioned earlier in the realm that I ran a D&D adventure.
Oh yeah.
One of the players, one of my patrons, is very new. It's like his third game, right? And at the end of this adventure, they're trying to get access to this special fruit to rescue this young halfling girl who's dying of ling rot, right? And the only cure is a special fruit. And they're trying to negotiate, and it's going well. And the Blood Hunter, Steven, I know you're listening because I know you listen to every episode as it airs, decides, oh, this guy's got to die. He's bad. And he was kind of, he's scratching his neck. He's kind of got a tick going. He's pretty messed up. But he decides to charge. And
here I go killing again.
I'm not the DM that's going to say, no, you can't do that. I did remind him that your negotiations are going good. He's like, I don't care. He transforms into his wolf because he's running the Matt Mercer's Order of the Lycan Blood Hunter. And he attacks. So I roll initiative. And the players handled this perfectly. I have seen too many times where all the players just say, fuck it, and attack.
Yeah.
The people who won the initiative first, the very first person, which I think was John, pulled out a net and threw the net at him. And caught him in a net. So now he's entangled. Then Hans, I think it was Troy, runs up and tries to grapple him. Right? And hold him from getting any farther. And that was their solution to a player who was trying to end their negotiations.
We're sorry. This guy's phrase is, a kill a day keeps the bloodlust away.
Yes. And what made it interesting, it's because technically what happened, you can consider PvP, can't you?
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. And one of the players actually had a little bit of concern about that. You can tell he was pretty reserved on the whole PvP thing.
But sometimes it's not warranted.
Right, but PvP doesn't have to mean I cut your fucking head off. It could just mean that you pin and knock somebody to the ground and put some manacles on them or something. There are ways
sleep dart.
Yeah, or sleep dart. There are ways to deal with players like that. So when you are in a situation where attacking is clearly not the best option, you as the players can either just give up and attack anyway because somebody else did, or you can try to handle the person without trying just to attacking them, right? There are ways to incapacitate players without dealing with the aggressive, cutting their head off or anything like that. And I think my players last night did a really good job on that. And once again, Steven...
Banish.
Oh, dude, banishing him to another dimension would have been glorious. And then they just, finish their conversation. He comes back and there's nobody in the room. But anyways, while I have nothing against what Steven did, that clearly was something that went against what the party wanted, right? And I think the players, they handled it very, very well. So... the point is that there are ways to handle situations in a PvP fashion that don't really, that aren't so aggressive that they cause additional problems among the players, right? And I feel like that's something that could easily happen to a barbarian or the zealot paladin, right? That just he's gotta fucking die, So,
yeah. I cast Dimension Door. Where'd he go? Give it a second. Ah!
That's funny. So consider the different alternatives you have besides just attacking when you don't really need to. Attacking your allies when you don't need to. That'll do it for our player tip of the podcast. Don't be a dick.
Sorry, I was stretching.
That'll do it for our player tip of the podcast.
Don't be a dick.
And you can avoid dickitude by handling aggressive negotiations well. That'll do it for our show today. Before we close out, we have one more gift to give away. Compliments of Jeff Stevens.
Jeff Stevens.
Ian. Who's our winner today?
Our winner today for Jeff Stevens is Dual.
Dual what?
Oh my god.
I just know it's spelled D-O-W-A-A-L.
Anyway, congratulations, Dual. If you enjoy the adventure, please let Jeff Stevens know. Leave him a review and let him know what you liked about the product. Once again, if you like any of Jeff Stevens' products, you can head on over to critacademy.com. There's a click on our sponsors and click on his name and go check out all of his other fat loots. It's got lots of good stuff. Well, that'll do it for our show today. Please join us on our next episode where we hear feedback from you, our heroes. Author Jeff Stevens will be joining us to talk Villains in Layers, a collection of fully fleshed out villainous NPCs with backstories, motives, and bitchin'-ass layers. Layers, not layers. Layers. Bitchin'-ass layers.
Crib!
Crib, D&D edition.
Yep. What's listening to a drink? Is that a skull? Yep.
See you later, Tate.
Bye, Tate.
Later.
I'm really excited for this. This is one of the top selling products right now on DM's Guild. It's been on like the auto pop-up thing for like a month now. So if you have any feedback, unearthed tips and tricks, or topics you'd like us to discuss, please send them to us. You can email them to us at critacademy@gmail.com or find us on Twitter and Facebook at Crit Academy.
We hope you've enjoyed your experience here at the Crit Academy. If you did, you can help others find the show by leaving a hopefully 5-star review on iTunes or your platform of choice. Or just send us a message telling us how much you enjoy the show.
As of this episode release, if you leave a review on iTunes, at the end of March, we are going to pull a name from one of the reviews and give away a free copy to a lucky winner of our Unearthed Tips and Tricks book. So definitely head on over and leave us a review.
We're going to pull your name out of a hat.
What?
We're going to pull the name out of a hat. Figuratively speaking.
Make sure to give us a like and a share on our social media as well.
We hope you enjoyed your experience here at Crit Academy. If you did, you can help others find the show by leaving a, hopefully, 5-star review. But
we've already gone through that.
I thought you read the paragraph before that.
No?
More or less.
I led the first one. He read the second one.
Fine.
Then I talked about the book March thing.
I think that's what threw me off.
And then I said, yeah, I probably did because it's not normally there. And then I said, like, leave us a like and a share. So.
And also, you can support our show for as little as $1 a month by going to Patreon. And there's various tiers to get more stuff.
Yeah. Or you can check out Brandon's art. He takes commissions. There is a link in our Facebook page to get all the prices and some samples of his work.
Samples?
Make sure you subscribe to our show at critacademy.com so we can help you on your future adventures as well as be entered to win cool prizes each and every week. You'll also find links to our awesome fellowship members. If you have not checked it out, we've got several awesome content creators on there. Oricon's Lair, Brute Force and Ignorance, the Actual Play Podcast, D&D Character Lab, Gabe and Jeff over at Inner Party Conflict. There's just a plethora of beautiful content there. Definitely check it out. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Brandon.
I'm your co-host, Ian. Thanks for listening.
Keep your blades sharp and spells prepared, heroes.
Waka waka.
Thanks for joining us today, guys. We hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit different than the normal D&D stuff, but this is something I've been wanting to talk about for like a month and a half, so I just couldn't find a spot to squeeze it in. So very exciting. Thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully you'll be joining us for our Patron Pals next week. I got a lot of stuff that I really want to discuss, so if you can, please try to make it. I really want your guys' input on some of the topics we're going to be discussing. So, where's the button here? One of these days I'm going to figure out what the shortcut for that is. All right, wave to the camera. See you guys later.
Bye.